Hello and welcome to another episode of the FemiNinja Project. And as always, I have a fascinating and fantastic guest with me today. Her name is, now here it comes, Victoria Ann Spencer-Kibble of VASK Therapy. She helps people overcome their fear of flying to feel empowered with flying confidence, especially when they have an underlying autoimmune disorder which stresses them out so much that they don't fly or travel for years. She is a former flight attendant and flight supervisor who flew during the 9/11 era. I could only imagine what that was like, and only stopped flying when she was widowed at a young age, leaving her to raise her two young children alone. Over the next 4 years, Victoria struggled with the intense grief, anxiety, stress, financial loss, and serious medical illnesses until she transformed herself through Rapid Specialist Hypnotherapy. She now helps others overcome autoimmune disease symptoms by reducing stress and inflammation to give them the energy and confidence to fly. Victoria, thank you so much for being here and welcome to the show.
Oh, thank you so much. That was a wonderful introduction. Yes, flying was a big part of my career, my start of my career with my first husband. His name was Carl Nicholas Spencer. He actually knew a few girlfriends he went to school with and
Mhm.
introduced me to them who flew for a local airline. And I actually, I'd always wanted to travel. I was always that kid, that but why kid who wanted to know more, more, more all the time. So
Mhm.
I was very much interested in the blue planet, let's say, the blue of the sky and the blue of the ocean. That's been two major parts of my life. So with Carl, he was an expedition leader. He'd gone to the Titanic twice and he went to the Britannic three times, leading the expeditions to the Britannic, which is the sister ship of the Titanic. On the third time he actually went, unfortunately, he passed away um, underwater. So it was
Mm.
just a tragic accident. But it was Carl who led me to flying in the first place. So going for the interviews at the local airline, and I actually went for international airlines as well. I got accepted, and there it was. My flying career started, and I loved it. I absolutely loved it. Before children, obviously, and I enjoyed the hosty life back then before mobile phones. Let's say that. So long haul and short haul, and Carl supported me through that, as well as me supporting him with his two businesses, and he also filming documentaries internationally for the likes of National Geographic History Channel, BBC, Channel 4, you name it. He loved what he did, and he was
Mhm.
an amazing, incredible man. So flying career, more or less in everything on board an aircraft. There is, you will not shock me, trust me. I have seen it all and done it all. But of course, the major thing after 9/11 was that I remember that week after 9/11. So I was circling on that day. I was coming off a night flight, and we kind of sensed that there was something not quite right. So that week at post 9/11, it was the day that changed not just aviation world, but it changed the world. But
Mhm.
it also brought in safety aspects that needed to be changed. For example, safety is always our number one priority. That was part of my PA. So I went from temporary crew to cabin crew to senior crew to flight supervisor.
Mhm.
So I went through all the ranks, and once you're flight supervisor, obviously you're next in line to the flight deck itself. And the
Mhm.
flight deck door was meant to be collapsible, believe it or not. So if you run out a flight deck door, it will collapse into three. That's basically how they got in on 9/11. So that changed, and that's great that it did change. So we've always got to remember with aviation, if there's any incidences, and I know in 2024 there's already been three major ones, we learn from them, and we learn from them instantly. It doesn't take years, it's instant, okay? And things what like that would change. So you will not go in a flight deck door.
Mhm.
It's like a safe door now. So
Mhm.
things did change. And of course, I feel post-lockdown now, there's a lot of flight anxiety. 1 in 4 of us actually has some kind of flight anxiety or fear of flying or holiday stress. We don't enjoy the process. And that's where, because I've been both sides of the cabin door, I get it because I've dealt with it. Now, some people say to me, but you don't fear flying. No, I do not. But of course, then in 2009, on the 24th of May 2009, Carl was leading an expedition to the said Britannic, sister ship of the Titanic shipwreck. He was leading an expedition that was commissioned by National Geographic, and he actually passed away in that expedition. That ended my career. He died on the 24th of May. I was due, my next flight was on the 1st of June. Obviously, with 2 bereaved children, and I was only 37 myself, my children were 3 and 8.
Oh,
That ended my flying career. I know. And it was that shocking a time for us. I had Sky News on my doorstep before the children, I'd even tell the children, and it was on BBC News as I turned the TV on. It was horrendous because of the time difference between Greece and the UK. So he died earlier, and we hadn't been told. So it was horrendous from day dot. And because Carl was running 2 companies and doing his diving documentaries as well, unfortunately, those 2 companies had to go into liquidation, wind up petition. The stress was unbelievable.
I just need to interrupt for
Yes,
one
sorry.
moment. Is that how you found out that he passed away, was on TV?
So the kids were downstairs, that they'd put the TV on, not realizing who they were talking about. And I got the call. I was up on the landing upstairs, and I got the call from Greece to say, Carl's gone. That was the words, Carl's gone. And I just felt for minute.
Jeez. So,
And
I
the
mean,
irony was as well, funny enough, myself and the children had actually been out that very morning to go and get a swimming pool, and we lost him to the ocean. The serendipity in that, honestly. But yeah, everything started from them, because I actually we had things from non-payout of insurances because of the way he died. We had death inquests because there were 17 countries involved in his expedition. So it was a very complicated young death. And of course, you don't expect it. The worst thing for me was choosing his funeral music, because you don't expect it. And what do you do for something that he was only 39 years young? What do you do? But we got through it, and we're certainly not there now. Okay, that was 2009. So fear of flying, obviously I couldn't go back to the airline, so I went into teaching to be around for my children. So I was in primary, elementary over in the US. So I learned a lot about the subconscious mind, because we're all in the subconscious mind until the age of 8/9, and how kids absorb like sponges things that are great for them, i.e. the times table. If I said 3 times 3 to you now, you'd be able to that was an easy one. 3
I
times 3,
thank you
you'd
for
be able
that.
to you're my pleasure, honestly. Always be kind, that's what I say. Never say 6 times 7. That's horrible.
42.
Hey, she got it. Well done. But see how we instantly know it. But sometimes we also absorb things instantly, and we don't realize how bad it's for us. I.e., let's say the Jaws poster didn't do us any favor for swimming in the ocean. And myself and my son Ben have actually swam with the icons, the shark experts, Ron and Valerie Taylor in Australia. And when Ben was only 3 years young, we actually did a dive with them. This is how extraordinary, a fantastic, amazing, incredible life that I've lived and been blessed to. With Carl, he was on an expedition with them, and she picked up the most deadliest snake in front of my son. And I've got the picture where there's literally a shark going behind the 2 of them. I know it terrifies people, but that's somebody's fear. You'll say, Faith said it, or that's somebody's fear. It's not ours. Mine will be different.
Mhm.
So once I've been through schooling, I knew that I wasn't coping very well. And I knew that there was time to address that grief that had become complicated grief.
Mhm.
Once it's over 6 months, it does become complicated grief. And nowhere on the 5 or 7 stages of grief does it say the word guilt. I was feeling incredible guilt for not going on this expedition with him, but it was because I was due to fly before he was back. Does that make sense? Yeah.
Mhm. Mhm.
But we would obviously go round when possible to actually fly with when I wasn't flying to actually go on the expeditions with him. So that's how my life changed, but I knew I wasn't coping. So in 2010, I had 8 seizures in 1 hour. I was in a coma for 11 days. So my children nearly lost both parents within 18 months. It does not bear thinking about. And the reason why was because I caught epiglottitis, which is old-fashioned croup. It is in the throat. And that because my throat swelled up so much so that they couldn't get infantile tubes down, I was 3 minutes away from death. And I'm so grateful I'm still here. So at that point, it was get yourself right. Do
Mhm.
whatever it takes to be fit and healthy and here for your children. And that's exactly what I did.
I just want to ask another question or just make a comment when you said epiglottitis, because I told you before we started recording, my first career, I was a respiratory therapist, and we used to see epiglottitis in the very, very young, small children. And it was, it was scary. It's like all hands on deck. Let's get this kid intubated because you can die. I have never heard of an adult having epiglottitis. I mean, if
Yeah,
they did, it's probably just a passing little, but not like that. And how many seizures?
eight. Eight.
Jeez.
8 in 1 hour. I should not be here. So it has left me with, because every seizure that you have, obviously, it does damage a little bit of your brain. But it's affected me in the part that my brain swelled because of the swelling of the throat.
Mhm.
My brain swelled and it banged together. And that's so I'm not epileptic. I just could have seizures, but now I'm on preventative medicine, so I won't have seizures, if that makes sense. But yes, epiglottitis in children is recoverable. 4 out of 5 adults that get epiglottitis will die. I'm the 1/5.
Jeez.
Meant to be here.
Yes, you certainly
Yeah, thank
are.
God I did. Yeah, and I'm grateful for that. I truly am thankful that I'm here for my
Mhm.
children. But it also gave me the kick up the backside, as we would say in the UK, to say you're not coping, whatever it is that you need to deal with, deal with. So that's when I came across this therapy that changed my life in one session, so much so I just went, I need to train in this. And I was
Mhm.
still at school. So I trained in year 6, which would be your 10 and 11-year-olds. So what I did was train part-time at school and train in the therapy, the hypnotherapy, the rapid transformational hypnotherapy that I was trained in. And I've since done other modalities as well, as including the Erickson method, which is conversational hypnotherapy, which is
Mhm.
incredible results, very, very quick, because none of us have time to waste. We all want everything straight away, don't we? Instantly. And this for me, I've got the results with my reviews that
Mhm.
I now feel like this is why it brought me to this moment in life,
Mhm.
that I have a purpose to help people with the fear of flying because it was taken away from me, my joy, let's say,
Mhm.
and I understand it prolifically, and I understand post lockdown now that people feel the same as they did in 9/11. And also because after having my daughter, I have always been a nurturing, protecting mum. But when I was pregnant, I piled on a lot of weight. I do grow and big in this house. My son is 6'7" and he's size 18 UK feet.
Oh my
That is like,
goodness.
I apologize, but I think that's about 54 USA. I'm not 100% on that, but yeah, size 18 UK feet. He's huge, but he is is indestructible. He's a big lad, and looks the image of his father as well. And then my daughter, she's pushing 6 foot, and she's 18 tomorrow as well. So, you know, I grow them big. So I put 5.5 stone on with my son. In my mind, I was protecting the most precious cargo, just like a plane does, just like a flight attendant does, protecting that precious cargo. With Georgia, I put 6 stone on. But once I'd given birth, did I need that symptom anymore? No, I did not. So though that is the reason why I dual niche. One, because I think fear of flying is understated and people don't realize there's 3 levels to it. So I do underactive thyroid, autoimmune diseases, because that's what underactive thyroid is, because that's when I was diagnosed with it. They did the blood tests, which are called TSH. That's why I'm known as the thyroid stress hypnotherapist. Kind of liked it because it was the acronym of TSH, the blood test you have for underactive thyroid. And the fear of flying hypnotherapist as well, because when I was pregnant with Georgia, because I put so much weight on, and it is extreme, 6 stone, that's when they diagnosed me with underactive thyroid. But that's when I knew that I'd got to lose the weight, because I'd got to get back in that flight supervisor uniform as well. So there was a lot of pressure put on me. But please remember, I was carrying my most precious cargo. So I'm okay with that. I was still fit and healthy at that bigger size. But now I haven't carried that size now for the last 18 years as of tomorrow. Well, probably 17 years, should I say, because once I'd given birth, I didn't need to carry that excess weight, which was unhealthy for me. I'm not saying this isn't about fat shaming or shape shaming or anything like that. It was unhealthy for me. I was still fit and healthy when I was pregnant and enjoyed being pregnant. So that's why I dual niche. The Hashimoto's it's a difficult one, because there's a stress hiding behind an inflammation that causes a symptom. Another acronym, I love an acronym, it's the teacher in me, is where I say the CIS. What's your stress that's causing the inflammation that's giving you the symptom? When you get to the stress, which is your root cause, your reason, your why, your story that you're telling yourself, you can reduce and remove the inflammation, and you can reduce and remove the symptom. Does that make sense?
Absolutely. Absolutely.
With flying, there's 3 levels of flying, fear of flying. The level 1 is where they've got knowledge. They need to know how it is that a plane flies. That's when courses, books, TikToks, all that kind of thing, that YouTube videos are brilliant for these type of people. But then there's the other 2, which are the middle one, level 2, is events. That's where they remember 9/11, or they were in a classroom in the USA. And I had one particular client from New York who told me her story was she was 8 years old. She remembers seeing it in the classroom. They were made to watch it in the classroom and then write letters to the children of the parents who didn't come home. That is a true story. I know. How sad is that? I know it was meant in goodwill, but it made her feel unsafe. And then 3 is trauma, when it's actually nothing to do with the fear of flying. It's just an emotion, a suppressed somatic emotion that they have depressed, suppressed in their body, that needs releasing. And once they release it, and they don't realize it's got to do with the fear of flying. That's because, let's say, for example, you're in the toilet on board the aircraft and it's blue, and you're a boy and you were bullied at 3 years old in a toilet that was blue, and you felt trapped and scared and stuck, and you couldn't escape, and the bullies were throwing things over the top of this blue toilet. In your subconscious mind, you could have latched on an emotion to that physical feeling that you're having in your body, that dropping sensation, that scared stomach in knots, all of that. Then the thoughts start processing. The thoughts don't mean anything until we attach an emotion. Once you attach that scared, frightened emotion to it, that nervousness, that anxiousness, I can't escape, I'm stuck, I'm trapped, I can't get out, something bad's going to happen, something out of the blue, because it's a blue toilet. Then years later, you get on board an aircraft and the toilet, you suddenly go into it for some obscure reason, you see that it's blue, and bam, you're straight back to that moment where you're that little boy again. Does that make sense?
Absolutely. I love the fact that you're bringing up somatic emotion because, we hear this all the time how, the body keeps score or how, our emotions, how they impact our body. And I think that a lot of people don't really understand that. But putting it the somatic, the body and the emotion, you can't separate the mind and the
No.
body. And I
No.
think for years, especially Western medicine, where it was really good at that, they have nothing to do with each other, but that's really not true.
Oh, it's so not true. If you think about anxiety, for example, you're anxious, you're having a panic attack on board. What's the first thing that you do? You've got these racing thoughts. Your heart starts racing. You can't breathe, so you're in your head. You can't think straight. They all
Mhm,
line up. The mind and body, and the body and mind work together, back and forward, all through the vagus nerve, all the time. And
mhm,
you don't need to know the complicated terms. That's for us to know, us
mhm,
therapists to know.
mhm,
It doesn't matter how the blended therapy that I use, it's what the symptom that the person presents to me who's sitting in front of me. I use their words because they're important to their mind, and I use their physical symptoms because they're important to their somatic feeling, suppressed feeling. Again, does
mhm.
that make sense?
It does, but I just want to ask a quick question. How does that with the work that you do, how does that kind of, I'm going to use the word diffuse that connection and change the script and the story for the person, like in their mind and in their body? Do you approach it through the body or how do you do that? How does that happen?
I do a bit of both because
Okay.
I do believe it's like a highway, isn't it? The vagus nerve is like a highway. It's mind to body and body to mind. So you've got to work with both because a lot of people, even the original, let's go from Jaws poster now to the aeroplane, the movie, the old movie. It's on a lot of my videos. It's tied in a knot. No wonder people say, I've got knots in my stomach. I've got
Mhm.
that dropping feeling. The association could be as quick as seeing something like that, a poster way back when, or watching a film. It can be a bullying incident, it can be stress, it can be trauma, it can be different things. So I deal with both. And I see it as seeing it like a tied shoelace, and we untie that knot. So we make sure this ends straight, and we make sure this ends straight. That represents the mind, that represents the body. Again, does that make sense?
And absolutely, because there's then that flow between the two of them. Whereas if you're in that knot, they're both coming against a hard block.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah,
By the
absolutely.
way, I do love that picture.
What picture?
The picture that you use, it's a picture of you and I'm, standing in front of that poster with the
Oh
airplane
yeah,
and
that's my therapy room. Yeah, I
and the
know.
look on your face is it's just priceless, yeah.
Yeah, no, I do it on purpose because I don't complicate things for people. I talk to them in their language because it's pointless to explaining what the vagus nerve does, explaining what the somatic is, soma is, and explain in their words so they get the understanding because that's where it's powerful.
Mhm,
And I do believe that we can, there's a therapy or there is a way to help you out there for everyone. One size doesn't fit all, but the
mhm,
body does hold score. It did for me. My grief was held in my throat. Now it started Hashimoto's disease, where I wanted to protect my children. Lo and behold, every time I get an illness, it goes straight to the throat. Epiglottitis, underactive thyroid is the butterfly in the gland in the middle of your throat. So it makes sense. So the fact that flying and obviously butterfly gland as well, they're very similar. But what I saw over doing the years of fear of flying and helping many clients with that, it wasn't just helping them with the fear of flying, that was just a symptom. Um, I got them coming to me for IBS. I got them coming to me for eczema, for underactive thyroid, for rheumatoid arthritis, because all these autoimmune diseases are preventing them from traveling and travel, not just travel as in the plane, because obviously I've had a lot of experience with ships and shipwrecks and water, and I'm also a swimming teacher as well. I do that in legacy to Carl because it's important for each
mhm.
child to be able to swim. It's a life skill. So can you see how they I saw the connection between the two things that I do. If you're unwell and you're not fit and healthy, how can you possibly travel? And
Mhm.
having been on board and seen people who've had to be wheelchaired on board, and I've had to help them on by the forward right-hand door, which is called R1, by a lift, and they're really so young and they're crippled with rheumatoid arthritis, and I can see the anxiousness and the nervousness and the embarrassment and the shame and the guilt they're carrying by coming on because everyone's staring at them. And it shouldn't be like that. And also going on holiday and seeing how we are getting bigger as nations, and we're not respecting our bodies. I don't personally, my personal view is if the average age is 79 years young, as I like to say, I'm 52 years young now. I've got a lot to cram in. There's lots of places I still want to see, but I want to be fit and healthy for me at my size to be able to do that. So if I want to parachute at 82, I want to be able to parachute. If I'm crippled up with my underactive thyroid or arthritis or lupus or skin conditions, because that's the biggest connective organ that we've got, you know, eczema, psoriasis, all those kind of things, which are stress induced. I'm not going to be able to do that. And that's not the life that one I would have led with Carl, but I am blessed to have been met up, blind dates do work, with a second husband. Wasn't ready, but he came into our lives at the most precious moment that we needed him. So Stuart's my second husband, and he walks hand in hand by my side, step by step. He's an incredible man. So he lives with a disability himself, as in he was born with no eardrums, so he wears Bahas.
Mhm.
So again, I see sign language, British Sign Language, for example. It's a necessity that people don't realize it's a hidden illness. I have a hidden illness. You can't see through looking at me that I've had 8 seizures in an hour. You can't see that I've had epiglottitis and I've had autoimmune disease, which is Hashimoto's, which causes underactive thyroid. But I've also had eczema. Who do you not know who's had eczema, psoriasis, or somebody that you don't know who's had rheumatoid arthritis? All of these things that you don't realize are an autoimmune disease. So I just use their language. So if they come to me with arthritis, we call it that rather than trying to overcomplicate it, because their words, again, are powerful to their mind and their body. Again, makes
Mhm.
sense.
I really want to highlight what you're talking about and what you're saying, because when people have an autoimmune disorder, an autoimmune disease, they think, okay, this is it. And a lot of times that's what they're told by their medical professions is you will always deal with this, blah, 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 but don't you worry about it. We're going to take care of you. We'll treat the symptoms. But you can actually heal your autoimmune disorder through, again, that mind-body connection. And to me, that is such an empowering message to be able to share with the listeners, and for anybody who might be dealing with something called autoimmune disease. I spoke with a gentleman yesterday who was diagnosed with Parkinson's disease, and he actually said that word and used that terminology several times during our conversation. And I said, you know what? Why don't we just change the script a little bit? That instead of you have Parkinson's disease, let's just say you were diagnosed with Parkinson's, and then take it from there and see what happens.
Totally agree with you. Do not own it. Do not own symptoms that you are told that you should have. So if people are following me on social media at the moment, I've just been growing my hair for the last, since my seizures, all my hair dropped out. Here's another one, autoimmune, alopecia. So all my hair dropped out after my seizures. So I've had short hair for a long time, kind of pink styled, and I do love it, short and spiky, but my daughter wanted me to grow it, and I thought, well, damn it, I'm going to show that I can grow it. So I've been growing it now for about 9 months, and it's gone from short and spiky, and though you can't see it particularly well today, it's now in a little bob.
It
So
is a little bob.
because I've dealt with the stress, the loss behind the stress was about loss. I've dealt with that, which has reduced the inflammation around my hair follicles, which has allowed me to grow my hair. So just because you get given a symptom, don't slap a band-aid on it or a plaster. Don't give me another pill. Let me see if there's anything I can do before all of that. So I am literally on my thyroid medication only because they don't want to take me off it because I've had seizures, because it's hormone replacement. So it's HRT. Levothyroxine is HRT.
Mm-hmm.
So they don't want to take it off that because I've had seizures and I'm on preventative medication for the seizures. I'm okay with that, Cheryl. I think that's a great plan because there's a
Mm-hmm.
time for medication and there's a time for medication. That's how I see life.
Mm-hmm.
Um, but I'm also now recently gone on HRT, as in for the menopause, because I am a menopausal lady. And we've been frightened about that for the C word, because I won't even say it out in full, the C word. But if you actually go into the statistics to it and the percentages, what kind of life do you want to live? Is it fit and healthy? Is it affecting your sleep? Is it affecting your skin? Is it affecting your libido? Is it affecting your weight? All of these symptoms that we're told we should have, I've dealt with them one by one with my autoimmune disease, and I don't have those symptoms.
Mm-hmm.
So totally agree with you that we can overcome anything when we put our mind and body towards it.
Mhm. Yes, I always say that the body has an incredible capacity to heal itself as
Yes.
long as we give it the right tools and the right environment to do that.
Yeah. I always say to autoimmune disease people, let's call it, I say to them, use the acronym MEN: medication, exercise, nutrition. I love a good acronym because it's just the way my brain works, because I can remember things like that after having the brain damage. Okay.
Mhm.
So if your MEN is on point, if your MEN is on point, then why is it that you've still got a symptom? Why
Mhm.
is it if your medication is regulated, you still have a symptom? Don't go to the doctors and have another tablet, another pill. Let's see if there's a different way you can address it. Yoga, Pilates, do it for your chapter of
Mhm.
life as well. Because as 52 years young, I used to love spinning and HIIT classes and pump classes and all that kind of thing. I loved it. I've always kept
Mhm.
fit. But now I open water swim. I swim an awful lot. I do the body weight training, but to my ability at 52 years
Mhm.
young, you have to adjust to the chapter that you're going through in your life at this moment. Does that make sense?
Oh, absolutely. I mean, I wrote a book on that. So, yeah, just listening to your body and doing what feels right to your body and for you.
Right.
And it does change as we go through the different seasons of our lives, but that does not mean stop moving. And that's kind of like my big message is the thought of going to a gym makes me break out in hives. I mean, ugh. And I tell people I'm a physical therapist who hates exercise and thinks that chocolate is food, because it is, but I love to move. So I've found things that I'm actually very passionate about, dance, martial arts, Pilates, Feldenkrais, and those are the things that really keep me going. So I always encourage people to find what really lights their fire. It's like, oh yay, I get to go to this class today. But just to
Yeah.
keep moving. And it doesn't mean, I met a man one time who he was at a, subacute rehab facility. I was moonlighting there as a physical therapist. And I thought, why is this guy here? Because he looks so young and healthy and vibrant and fit. And the other therapist said, well, he checked himself into the facility because he was going to be celebrating his 100th birthday in the next, month, and he wanted to make sure he was strong and fit, as he could be. Well, this
Wow.
man would go outside every single morning into the courtyard and do Tai Chi for at least 20 minutes. He looked like he could have passed for 70 easily, maybe even younger. And it was just because he found something he was passionate about. It worked for him. And, and he was charming too. I will have to tell you, he was winking and nodding and tipping his hat to all the ladies. Yeah,
Yeah,
can be
why not?
done.
I found of course I did, aerial yoga, where you do yoga in the sling. Love it. Love it. And because you don't realize, because you're weightless, a bit like swimming, you're weightless and you're lifted up, you don't realize how much further you actually stretch as well. So aerial yoga has been a passion of mine as well. I absolutely love it. Open water swimming, and I do the cold shower things for the cold exposure that you do get with underactive thyroid. is a game changer as well
Yeah.
for people suffering with any kind of thyroid condition. It takes it, you got to be brave. You got to psych yourself up for it. And I do
Hmm.
breath work before I get in the open water. But I think the coldest in the UK, I did an ice dive years and years ago with Carl. But in the UK, I think we've been down to about 2 degrees,
Oh my
which is
God.
cold. It is cold, but how you feel afterwards. Oh, wow. Wow.
Well,
It's
I like
amazing.
to call it, it's like hitting yourself on the head with a hammer. It feels so good when you stop. I mean, I don't think I could do the cold water thing, but I have to tell you, the aerial yoga sounds fantastic. And I
Yeah.
actually started pole dancing at the age of 58. So that was kind
Good
of
for
like
you.
my new thing.
Love it.
It's the hardest thing I've ever done, but when you can get yourself, in an upside down position and hold it, it's like, okay, I can do pretty much anything.
Absolutely, yes. Never think age is but a number. Never think you can't. You absolutely can. That's why I see with the fear of flying niche, and obviously at the moment I am inundated because of the Alaskan Airlines and the JAL Airlines incident, and now we've just had the French football plane incident, literally yesterday, I believe it was. Um, people are fearful again, but again, we read into the stories that we see. Now,
Mhm.
I've been on board and I know exactly what happens in a decompression. That training is within me and I'll never lose it because, again, I had to be trained every year. Every year, it was 100% or failure on my
Mhm.
location diagrams. Trust our training is one of the things I say to people. Trust our training because we are trained with every inch of our life to save every inch of yours. And those three incidents this year thus far, they have proven how incredible cabin crew can evacuate and keep you safe. Trust our training. So sometimes it's time to look at yourself. What is it that's keeping you stuck feeling unsafe that you can't trust?
Mhm.
That's really where it's nothing to do with the aircraft. Because if you go on a course, if you go read the books, if you do all the TikToks and the YouTubes, and I do, if somebody gives me a symptom or a fear, I do it as well. I help people through that. But if that doesn't help you, try something else because you're not born with these fears, are you?
Mhm. Mhm. No, you're not. Nope, you're not. So
And
that's another thing I just wanted to highlight is when you say how well trained the flight attendants are, that safety is your number one priority. It's not serving the drinks or it's not, passing out the headphones or the headsets. It is safety first. And I had an acquaintance who was, was becoming a flight attendant and going through all the training. And her reaction was, I was shocked to see how much safety we had to learn. And I'm like, well, hello, you're first in line. The pilot's not going to come back there and help people. So that's really, really important. And I love the fact that you said to trust your training. I mean, you guys know what you're doing, obviously. Before we wrap up, I want one more thing. I want you just to talk quickly about the VASK therapy, where it came from, because I know you have a special event and you don't want to go over time. You have something to do this evening.
yes, I have. My daughter is 18 tomorrow. So, obviously, my name has been extended. I didn't really think about it before I went double barreled on my second wedding. So, Victoria Ann Spencer-Kibble, it's rather long. So, I shortened it to VASK Therapy. It is just an acronym. And the ex-teaching in me, I love an acronym. I love a metaphor. I love a simile. So,
Mhm.
it's a way of remembering things. So, it actually means to cleanse or wash. And also, what I kind of sneakily do, I just say ask V, flip the V to the back of the K, ask V. It's a little thing. It's a quirky thing. It's probably an ism in me, but it works for me. So VAS therapy, that's where it comes from. And I'm delighted to help anyone with any kind of travel anxiety to do it without the use of pills and alcohol, because here in the UK at the moment, they are restricting the amount of Valium, diazepam, Xanax that they're actually giving out. It's in a shortage, and some doctors won't prescribe it either. And a lot of people turn to the pills, the medication, and drinks to get on board. And that would actually be one of the first questions that I would ask if I got a passenger who was drunk on board. I would actually sit them down as the flight supervisor, the person in charge of the cabin, because remember, the flight deck are in the flight deck. I would ask them, "Are you scared of flying?" And the majority of the time, they'd say, "I'm terrified." And
Oh,
that's what I know when we don't realize because of the pressurization that if they've had 3 beers on the floor before they get on board, it can, just like we do on a daily life. By the way, I don't drink because of the seizures. That's a choice of mine. Um, if we have 3 beers before the flight, it can make us feel thrice in the air, you see, because the
mm,
pressurization. Some days you may have one glass of wine and you feel really drunk. Other days you could have a whole bottle and it not even touch you. It's exactly the same. It's why you're not allowed to drink before a scuba dive. And remember my scuba diving history of 31 years with my late husband. It's why we can't drink before. So why would you do it in a plane? The
right.
majority of the time, yeah, one or two if you're going on holiday, by all means. I want you to have a good time. Hosties love banter. One of our favourite sayings, and I'm going to say it because he's a little bit naughty and a little bit cheeky, and that's me all over. People would say to us, "Oh, you're just trolley dollies," and I would turn to him and say, "I'm here to kiss, save your ass, not kiss it." And that would automatically shut them up back in the day when I could be a little bit naughty. And also, if people would say to me, "I'm just going to drink a bit of my own alcohol," and I said, "No, you're not." And they said, "But you sell the alcohol on board and you sell the cigarettes on board." And I would say, "Yeah, and there's life jackets underneath your seat, but it doesn't mean you're going for a swim." So trust the banter the cabin crew have. It keeps us going on night flights. Have a bit of respect for what they do. Trust them, honestly. We want you to have a good flight. That's why we enjoy having banter with you. It's the start of your holiday or the start of your business trip, because I do a lot of corporates now as well.
Mhm.
And we want you to get to that destination feeling fully refreshed and excited instead of anxious and nervous. Does that make
Mhm.
sense?
Absolutely. Oh, Victoria, so I just want you to tell the audience how they can get a hold of you, how they can follow you on social media. If you can just give us a few of those links. Of course, they're going to be in the show notes and they will be in the show notes forever and ever. But I really like for the guest to be able to articulate it because it gives it that personal touch.
So I'll send you across all my details. But yes, all you have to do is look me up at Victoria Ann Spencer-Kibble and VASK Therapy, and I'm pulled up straight away. I am on Instagram at the moment. I've pulled it down because of dual niching. Okay. But I am on YouTube, I am on TikTok, I am on Facebook, and I am on LinkedIn as well. And I have a web page again that is just presently being updated. Just so I've got 2 landing pages for the
Mhm.
2 specialized niches, because they are actually interlinked. If you're not well with an autoimmune disease, you don't want to travel, you don't want to fly. So that's why it just, for me, because I've lived both, I want to help both as well. The
Mhm.
more people I can help, the better I feel as a purpose in my life. Does that make sense?
It does. And on the flip side, if you're really overstressed because of the fear of flying or anything else, you might be setting yourself up for autoimmune disorders.
Good point, Cheryl. Absolutely. I
Yeah.
like that. It
Mhm.
does. It does indeed. Or drinking the alcohol because you're super stressed and then causes an autoimmune, a chronic illness, a hidden illness that we don't realize. Putting that alcohol into your body too often or too many, we don't realize it's causing those chronic illnesses because we can't see it. I'm
Mhm.
all for having a good time. Listen, I'm big cabin crew. We can party hard, but
Yeah.
I chose after my seizures because it was a throat issue that caused a brain issue. For me, I didn't want to drink, and I haven't drank now for 14 years this year. I'll be
Mhm.
14 years,
Wow. Well, good for
and that's
you.
my
Well,
choice.
you look fantastic. You look healthy, vibrant, fit, and full of what is it? Naughty and snark. Was that the word?
Naughty, and I am a little bit naughty, but I like a bit of naughtiness and some
Naughty is
ism.
good.
It
Yeah.
is. It is absolutely. So if you think there's a question that I haven't heard of before, or just ask me. Just
Mhm,
ask me. I've heard it all. I've heard it all in the schools because I was in schools for 13 years and I've heard it on board. So trust
mhm,
me, I've heard it all now. It will be my pleasure to help anyone around stress, inflammation, and symptoms around the Hashimoto's disease or underactive thyroid. So, thyroid stress hypnotherapist. TSH is the blood test that you have for thyroid, for hypothyroidism, and also fear of flying hypnotherapist as well, because obviously fear of flying starts with some kind of stress, some kind of incident, whether it be that you don't understand the knowledge of how a plane flies, or you remember an event, i.e.
mhm,
9/11, or you've been through one as well. That's a big one, like these three
mhm.
incidences now. Those passengers, I do hope they're finding the help that they will need, because
Right.
it's important to overcome how they're feeling right now.
Mhm.
And then, of course, the one that is nothing to do with playing, a stress or a trauma that is just gives you the same sensation in your body physically and mentally when you step on board an aircraft.
Well, Victoria, thank you so much for being here today. I really
My pleasure.
appreciate it. Fantastic information, can help a whole lot of people. So thank you for what you're doing, and thank you for spending your time with us today.
My absolute pleasure. And I'm going to use the latest pun, welcome on board, but always, always welcome on board. And my motto is inspire to achieve and achieve to inspire.
Ooh, I love that.
It's actually in some of my videos. You will see it on the background because it's a wall script. Because we come into this world with the breath, we go out of this world with the breath, but we don't enjoy the breathing that we do in between, and we absolutely should. And remember, my husband, Carl Spencer, on the Britannic, his breath was taken away. So it's
Mm.
raw and real for us. So please don't waste any time. Life is precious. Waste time wisely.
Really excellent words of wisdom. So thank you again for being on the show.
My pleasure.
Everybody, thank you so much for listening. I really appreciate it. Please do share this episode with everyone you know, especially if they struggle with fear of flying, fear of travel, autoimmune disorders, stress, or just want to be able to fine tune their nervous system a little bit more to be able to calm down, focus on their breathing, and try that I don't know why I can't say it. VASK therapy. So it sounds
It's okay.
fantastic.
I can't say S's since my if I've got lots of S's in a sentence, I can't say it. And my name is Bask. Honestly, I understand, Cheryl. I feel your pain.
Oh, well, and you're such an empathetic and a kind person. So I really do appreciate that. And everybody, remember, take care of yourself, work on your stress levels, be calm. If you're afraid to fly, call Victoria and she can help you. And that is the way of the FemiNinja.